Good morning, everyone. I first of all would like to say that I'm speaking as founder of Fox Legal Training and not in any other capacity that I have held. I read the covenant package for Opella last night and I created a red flag review, and I have some thoughts, some observations about what a deal like this says about where we are in the leverage finance market right now that I doesn't make sense to put in the actual red flag review, so I'm recording a separate video. It took me hours to review something enough to record a 19-minute video on the deal. It has a vast amount of embedded flexibility in it, but not just flexibility, also complexity. So the ask for any investor is to make their way through that complexity sufficiently to price the risk that is reflected in that document. And I am here to tell you, after having reviewed thousands of deals in my career, that is not possible. It is just not possible. This is not the first deal that it's not possible for, and I'm not pointing a finger at anyone. This deal is the result of everyone in the process doing their job the best that they possibly can. The lawyers have done a great job. The arrangers and book runners, the banks are going to do a great job. They are going to do the best job that they can. The investors are going to do the best job that they can. What I am saying is that it feels like an unfair ask to give them the length of time that they have to review it and ask them to make the assessment that they are asked to make. We have seen recently very real examples in Europe of borrowers who are willing to take advantage of embedded flexibility for liability management transactions. And I'll be honest with you, that is what I am worried about here. And I know that that's a difficult thing to swallow, a difficult pill to swallow, haha. When you're looking at a primary market deal, that's probably one of the first LBOs in ages, and everybody's got capital to deploy and it looks like a good credit. And you're basically asked to make an assessment of how likely it is that the borrower will end up like Altice or Arda sometime down the line. And not just that, but how likely it is that you won't catch it in time. It's a hard ask, and it's an impossible ask, and I personally believe that it is unfair. And people who know me, you know that fairness is very important to me. Balance is very important to me. Transparency and education are very important to me. Just last week, I taught leverage finance covenants to a classroom full of finance students at ESA in Barcelona. And when I explained to them J.Crew and its progeny and the covenant flexibility that they have borne as a result, they asked, why would anyone invest in these deals? And I had to explain the circumstances that investors find themselves in today, but they still didn't understand it. And in some ways, this gives me hope that the next generation of covenant analysts, or credit analysts rather, will just not have the capacity to say yes. And that will be how things ultimately change. But I do have one other idea. I reviewed a deal called R.R. Donnelley and recently spoke to some journalists about a provision in that deal that was also in Getty Images. I also talk about it in the Opella review that I recorded and uploaded to YouTube, and also the primary market education series in the Fox Legal Training platform. The deal has a provision in it that is basically an LME blocker, of kind of blanket blocker. So it's not a J.Crew blocker, it's not a CERTA blocker, it's not a Chewy blocker, it's not a blah, 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 blah blocker. It's specific for LMEs, but it's also broad. So I'm going to just share my screen and show you what it looks like. I've actually picked the bit that's easier to read. It says liability management transactions. It comes right below a very important covenant called payments for consent. And it says that the issuer shall not enter into a liability management transaction involving existing LMT debt in excess of $25 million, et cetera, et cetera. And then you go back, when you go down to liability management transaction, means which hopefully will come up. Here we go. Then it talks about exchange to in a transaction that's not for bona fide business purposes and designed to up-tier holders on a non-pro rata basis, et cetera, et cetera. I think that this would be a really great provision to put in this deal and in every deal going forward till the beginning of time, because we are not worried about bona fide business transactions. That's never what unrestricted subsidiaries were designed to achieve, what effective and structural capacity for debt incurrence was designed to achieve. It was designed to give the borrower opportunities to enhance the value of their business. And if that's how they want to use this capacity, great. It's even, in my view, fine if they want to use it to return dividends to their shareholders. If the shareholders are doing well and lenders are okay to allow that, then fine. But it's this undermining of the sacred, most important promise to pay that I worry about. I worry about the effect that it would have in the future on the market as a whole, should it be taken advantage of again and again and again. So that is my spiel for this morning. If it's an impossible task, I at least want to make it a little bit less impossible. And that is what Fox Legal Training is all about as well. But this is not a sales pitch. This is just an idea. It's just an idea to consider whether a provision like the one that I've just shown would be a useful antidote to the excesses of the last 15 years of covenant flexibility, which have brought us where we are in the situation that we are in. That is no one's fault. It is just the evolution of the market. And my suggestion is to evolve the market back in the other direction a little bit and see if that kind of helps. And that's it. If you've listened this far, thank you very much for listening. I hope that this has been helpful, as I do with everything that I put out there into the world. And have a wonderful day.